In this video, I'd like to demonstrate Blueprint's collaborative features and show how two different users can log into the system at the same time and access and edit the same information, something you can't do with traditional diagramming tools like Visio or OmniGraffle. But first, let's pull up a diagram of the primary relations of a service, in this case WordPress. Here we can see that the WordPress service is installed on server S1 and has dependencies on both Apache and the WordPress database that's installed on server S2. So let's shrink this window down and then log in with another browser as another user. In this case, we'll use Google Chrome, and we'll log in as a second user. And let's adjust the display for the user on the left. And so the user on the right is logged in as a separate user and can look at the system in a separate way. In this case, let's look just at the servers themselves. In this case, server S1 and server S2. Now let's set each user's display to auto refresh so that changes made to the system are shown automatically. So here, the user on the right sees both server S1 and S2, and the user on the left sees those same servers, but in the context of the primary relationships to the WordPress service. So if the user on the right were to make changes, in this case, let's change the type of S2 to a virtual server. So now we've changed S2 to a virtual server, and you can see the color changes. And on the display for the user on the left, that information is updated as well. If the user on the right we're going to say that S2 is hosted by server S1, they could make that change by creating a hosting relationship. And so now we can see that S1 hosts server S2, and that information has been updated for the user on the left as well. So let's go ahead and undo those changes. And now we're back where we started from. Now, if the user on the right wanted to see just a server-centric diagram of server S2, they could do that by selecting S2 and saying, "Show me a server view of S2." So the user on the right is looking at some of the same information, in this case, just a server-centric view of server S2, which shows us all of the resources deployed on S2 and just one level of relationship to other resources, in this case WordPress, that's deployed on S1. And the user on the left is looking only at the primary relationships for the WordPress service. So both of these diagrams have been built from information in the model that are roughly the same information, they're just being viewed in two different ways. So as users make changes to this information, if the user on the right wants to change this WordPress database, let's say it's deployed instead on server S1, so we can say, let's move that database to S1. We'll see how both displays are automatically updated. So we can undo that change. And likewise, if the user on the left were making changes to the information they saw, let's say that the user on the left wants to delete the relationship between the WordPress service and the S2 database. They could click on that relationship and say delete. And again, we'd see that the information is updated for both users at the same time. So this type of interaction or collaboration works very similar to Google Docs. However, the difference here is that we're working with diagrams instead of textual information like documents or spreadsheets.